honorary cheers?
Yeah.
You don't have anything? Cheers, boys. All right, Sam, what is this? The Couchpact. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Couchpact, a Stormlight Archive reread podcast where my good friend Sam and I go through all of the books and reread them.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to episode 3. As you might notice, if you're watching the video, we got a little bit of a wider angle today. And that's because joining us is me and Jack's good friend, Mike. Say hi, Mike.
Hello. Hi, Mike.
So, Mike is another member of our crew that we've...
Our cult.
Yeah, our
Cult is the right word, yeah.
We've indoctrinated into reading these books. So I want to start out with, Mike, why don't you tell us how you got into these series, besides us telling you to read them over and over again?
Yeah, that's really the long and short of it. Was first it started with Sam and Hyperion. Eventually, I caved in, and I was like, I'll read this book.
What's Hyperion?
It's a sci-fi novel. You should read it after you read all of Brandon Sanderson's work. It's really fucking good.
It's a book by Dan Simmons.
Dan Simmons is the author.
That's a sci-fi retell. I don't remember if we talked about it before.
I think I briefly mentioned that Hyperion was the book I was in the middle of while we were book shopping.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of a retelling of Canterbury Tales.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's the Pilgrims.
I'm a fake fan. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you have the Pilgrims all telling the stories, and they all connect to each other.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, from there I just went straight down the rabbit hole. A little while ago, I started with Stormlight Book 1, and I did not stop for like 2 months straight.
Yeah. So hold on, really quickly, Sam. What Brando books have you read? I've
read the 4 Stormlight books and Warbreaker, and I just started technically, I guess, kind of Sanderson. I'm on book 2 of Wheel of Time, which is by Robert Jordan, but I'm not anywhere close to getting to the one that
I was
the 3 that Brandon Sanderson helped.
I was looking for you to say I just started Elantris, because that's the next important one that you have.
Oh, you did?
No, I didn't. Yet. I'll get to it. I'm kind of doing like one Wheel of Time and then one other book. So I read the first book, and then I read Eye of the World, and then I read Warbreaker right after. And we are thinking of our next episode might be, because we got a lot of people who read Warbreaker, so we might do a big Warbreaker bonus episode.
Because Warbreaker's sick.
Warbreaker is
very good. So good.
And then Mike.
Yeah.
What Brando books have you read? Being one of the last members to join the cult.
Yeah, I kind of...
Sam started the cult, by the way.
Yeah, I'm a pretty devout member at this point. See, what I did was I tricked myself. The way I get away with getting through so much Brandon is when I exercise, I have to listen to an audiobook now. I did it once, and I can't stop. So I did Stormlight 1 through 4, Edge Dancer, and the other
Dawn
one.
Shard.
I also
Dawn Shard.
Edge Dancer.
Dawn Shard.
And then I went into Warbreaker, which was fantastic, and then Elantris, and then Hope of Elantris, and King's Soul,
Emperor's
Soul, King's Emperor, and then
King's Booty.
I'm working through Mistborn right now, and I'm on book 3.
I got Mistborn downloaded too, so I think I'm gonna go. Good. I think I'm gonna go. I'm once I finish book 2 of Wheel of Time, I'm gonna go read Mistborn.
You should just pump out Elantris.
Elantris before Mistborn?
Yeah, you should.
Mistborn,
yeah, I mean, you don't need to, but
7
you should.
Books. It's split into 2 eras right now.
Oh,
it's
God.
getting our 3rd
It's
era
a lot of
after
books, yeah.
Stormlight 5.
Yeah. Well, I snagged the first one, so...
First one is good.
We should have just shared an Audible account.
Always more secrets.
That's true.
I don't know why I didn't. I thought of that like a couple weeks ago. I was like, the amount of money we have spent collectively on audiobooks is probably too much.
I'm fine with Brando getting...
Oh, yeah, no. It's a worthy cause.
He can have it.
I think
to make the Stormlight show happen.
Yeah, it's true. That's happening. Confirmed here.
Confirmed here.
Confirmed here on Couchpact.
We're starting the rumor.
The Stormlight Archive reread podcast with 10 subscribers. You've heard it here first.
Welcome.
We have the first inside scoop that the Stormlight show is confirmed happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
starring Danny DeVito, I heard.
Yeah, Danny DeVito's in it. Friggin' Tom Hiddleston is gonna be Hoyd because that's what everyone wants.
Yeah. No. Okay,
we
we talked about this. I think my favorite Hoyd fan cast that I've heard
Is Danny Pooh.
Danny Putty.
Oh, we were talking about this the other night, actually. Yeah, I don't know, but
'Cause,
maybe.
Yeah, I don't know how someone pulls off Hoyd, but I feel
That's
like
that's a tough one.
he could do it. Anyway, before we get into chapter 8, which is where we're starting today,
Yeah, where'd we leave off, Sam?
I actually wanted to ask Mike, we were talking about, I haven't asked you this yet, but did you end up rereading the first bit of the book as well, or did you just read these chapters?
No.
No.
I wish I wanted to. I ambitiously was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to read all of it and I'm going to take notes on all of it. And then I started working a 50-hour week. And that was the end of that ambitious dream.
So, from what you remember about the first few chapters, anything that stood out to you about those that you really liked?
I mean, the intro goes incredibly hard, especially on a reread. Just crazy. Knowing all of the heralds and going back through that, especially the night Gavilar gets assassinated, knowing all of the people that are there now, like Nail and Kalek and just everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone's there.
Yeah.
That was, I don't remember too much beyond that, to be honest.
This is actually a good point to re-bring this up, because I think I forgot to talk about this when Sam and I talked about it. But it is revealed in book 4, so we can't talk about it because it's part of Stormlight.
We can talk about it.
Restaris is Kalek.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You
we
actually-
did talk about that.
You spoiled that for me like minutes before it happened. It was very funny. We were on Discord and you were like, oh yeah, Kalek? And I was like, Restaris? And then I found out.
Yeah, because we talk about Restaris being there in the first episode, and I'm like, Restaris is the guy who is the leader of the Sons of Honor after Gavilar dies, but I didn't say Restaris is Kalek, but Restaris is fucking Kalek.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, if for some reason this is your first time joining us, as you may have noticed, I don't know why you're starting at episode 3, but we are spoiling everything in...
Yeah.
Just reiterating this again. We're spoiling everything in the whole series.
Leave if you have not partaken in his fruit.
You also should have...
Or don't if you want, I guess.
Or don't if you want, I guess. Whatever.
If this is what you like, if you like diving into the deep end and just learning everything.
People,
Watch as we dive in.
People talking at you about a story that you haven't heard before.
It's a vibe, I guess. I don't know.
So, do we want to start with chapter 8 then?
Well, where did we leave off? What was the last thing that happened?
So, the last thing that happened was we left Shallan in the... What's it called?
One of the alcoves.
Yeah.
She was in she's in
the
Yasna's
Parthenon.
alcove waiting for her
Yeah.
with Capsule. That's the last thing that happened.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and she does her 3 sketches and writes her letter to Yasna. I think she does that in chapter 7, right? Yeah.
Oh, and don't they mention the jam?
Yep.
I read like the little bit at the end.
I do. One of my
before I
last notes
started
is Shallan has a fondness for jam.
We talked about the jam in the
Oh,
last
that's
episode.
good. That's good. Big
Yeah.
jam girl.
And then chapter 8 starts off with I don't know if this is the first line in chapter 8, but it's very close to the beginning. It's like, oh, so you are here.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
Yasna saying that?
It might be literally the first
It's
line.
like, oh, so you are here.
Oh yeah.
Chapter 8, we get a confrontation yet again between Shallan and Yasna, as Yasna finds Shallan back in the alcove. Or not back, but she finds her in the alcove that she reserved. And Shallan had meant to leave before she got back, but
She didn't. She got caught eating some jam with Capsule.
yeah. Figuratively eating jam.
Did she not really eat the jam?
No.
No,
jam.
I don't think so. Not yet.
Oh, she has a fondness for jam.
She just
Yes.
says she likes jam.
She
They're
do
not
be
eating
liking the
any
They're
jam.
not eating any jam.
Yet.
Yet. I just have Yasna is mean with a frowny face.
See,
written down.
that's interesting. I put down Yasna is a literal force of nature. That's just like the mental image you get from Brandon. Just the way he writes her, which I love.
So a lot actually happens. This was the longest chapter out of the ones we read.
Yeah.
And so the first thing that happens is Shallan gets confronted by Yasna again, and Yasna reads her letter.
Not yet.
Yeah, I think she reads it like in front of her, and then
No,
in
no,
this
no,
chapter.
Because yes,
No,
but
the
after
letters
Yalb.
later on. Yeah.
She comes back
Yeah.
after the outing with Yalb.
No, because she reads the letter, and then she's like, maybe I'll take you on as a ward after you've fixed the holes in your education.
He might be right.
Yeah. Because that's why she leaves, and she's like, oh, well, like, at least I got an invitation back, but it doesn't matter because by the time I am able to fix the holes in my education, my house will be ruined.
Yeah, but then where does the part that happens where she's like, what did you think of my letter? And she's like, your letter?
That's right before
this.
she
No,
leaves.
that is this part.
Yeah. Because she almost misses the letter.
Yes.
Because they put a bunch of books down. One of her couriers like puts a bunch of books down on the table on top of the letter, and then there's the whole part where Shallan is like, "Oh well, if I wasn't here, you would have missed the letter."
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I'm right on this.
No, trust him.
I mean, I read it an hour ago, so I don't. But okay.
So we're gonna go with my version because I'm pretty sure it's correct, and if it's not, feel free
Off with your head.
Feel free to roast me in the comments.
Well, I mean,
on
I'm the
YouTube.
one that edits it, so there will be big text on the screen. If
Yeah,
I'm
you
right.
can put
Jack
big text.
is dumb and wrong, or Sam is dumb
Yeah.
and wrong.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Can you put whichever is right?
Yeah, I got you. It'll be clear. I won't make it.
I really
subtle.
hope it's size 72 Comic Sans.
One thing that in this scene between the two of them, it actually notes that the Smokestone and Yasta's Soulcaster is cracked.
I literally have this written down too.
So
How?
because
Why is
we
it?
already know it's broken here.
Yeah.
And we don't know it's broken, but on reread we know it's broken.
Yeah.
And this is a pretty telltale sign that it is, because I don't even know if they explain it yet, but cracked spheres can't hold any stormlight.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Am I?
No. Okay, so the Smokestone cracked when she used it.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
she soulcast. So the way that soulcasters are supposed to work is it uses the energy from the gem that you're doing the soul casting with. So Smokestone, because she was turning it to smoke, it cracks. This is my question: is Yasna's not using a fucking soulcaster? How the fuck did the stone crack?
I was thinking about that. I
don't think there's a clever explanation for why it's cracked. I think it's just kind of.
Do we see it crack when she uses it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
In the other chapter?
I guess my headcanon would be Yasna has proven to be so meticulous with everything she does that she is not trying to give away that she's not using the Soulcaster in the way people expect.
No, I know,
right?
but like, genuinely, how did she crack
Like
it?
the mechanics of how to.
What the like? Because she can't crack it with her mind.
I'm trying to remember if it mentions.
Yeah, I don't
because I feel
know.
like I would have
I
noticed
don't
if
know.
it said it cracked when she used it. Like. if
So you
Shallan
think she
saw
swapped
cracked.
it out in
Yeah,
between?
she might have.
Oh,
That's a possibility.
Oh,
I think that's the most likely possibility.
Oh,
is we
maybe.
should go look back in the text and see if it says and Shallan notices that it cracked.
Yeah.
But other than that, I would say, yeah, you're probably right.
Because I think she's just being so careful that she replaces it with a cracked one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Um,
on character.
Or the other read is that it was already cracked, and it's a clue that the Soulcaster doesn't work.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe it was cracked to begin with. But I don't know. I think her swapping it because she knows that it would be cracked if she used it is a much more interesting read on that than what
I agree.
initially thought.
Especially if we're right and Shallan doesn't mention it, and this is the first notice of it, is after Yasna, went off and was able to have an opportunity to switch it, comes back into this scene, and then it's the first mention is like Shallan notices that it's cracked after she had the opportunity to swap it.
Right. Yeah.
So this confrontation happens, and Yasna sends Shallan off, says she can repetition her once she's filled the gaps, like I said. And Shallan loses hope because she knows it's going to take her a very long time to fill those gaps. So she goes back.
And straight up would have gone home if Yalb didn't talk
Yeah.
her
Yes.
into
Yalb
it.
Yes.
is the GOAT.
Yalb is the
I love
best.
that. He's my beloved.
And I'm
I
so
love Yalb.
sad that we don't get more Yalb
I
in this
know, I
series.
know, I know.
Go
Oh my
read
God.
fucking Dawn Shard, idiot, and
Is
you'll
he-
get more Yalb.
Yeah, all right, that's
Yeah. Do you?
I know it. I didn't read it, but I know it. I know what happens in the book.
I don't
I meant
remember.
it when I said that.
Damn. Okay. Damn. Sheesh.
Yeah, so or Shallan leaves and runs into Yalb, and she has a conversation with him.
Before she runs into Yalb, she does mention something that I found really cool on reread, that I just never would have picked up on before. When she's having a little bit of a panic attack about just the general stresses on her life, the stresses on House Devar, she also mentions the secret she now carried hidden 10 heartbeats away.
You texted me about this, and I didn't. I just missed it.
That is so cool.
This is it. It's that scene. She leaves, has a panic attack at the elevator, and gets called back because her spheres are there. And when she comes back in for her spheres, that's when she points out the limit.
Yes.
So the big
we were
text,
both wrong. The big texters were both idiots. She does leave and come back, but it's not the very leave and come back at the end that I thought it was.
Yeah, and it's not the she stays, because she kind of stays.
She does.
She's in the building.
Yeah, she goes and does
stays.
a very relatable thing, which is not calling the elevator and just crying in front of the doors.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't cry. She
Anybody
almost
from
cries.
any timeline could relate to that.
Yeah.
I did like the image of her like clutching her satchel in front of her. I forget that she's a literal child. Like at
How
times.
old is she?
17?
17.
She's like a child.
I mean, I'm
She
not
should not
disagreeing
be.
with you, but
Yeah.
17, right?
Like damn, that's a lot.
Kaladin's also a child.
Yeah, I know.
He's 19, but he's a child.
He's a child.
Really quickly, I really like this Yalb going, she didn't take you? What's wrong with her? And Shallan goes, chronic competence, I should guess.
Yeah, that was. Oh yeah.
Shallan's personality really comes out this. You know how we were talking about how Kaladin kind of takes a while to come into Kaladin? Yeah. I don't think Shallan has that problem. I think from this chapter, Shallan's personality is made very clear.
The thing with Shallan is that she kind of has the opposite arc of Kaladin throughout the series, where Kaladin kind of loses himself immediately, and it takes the whole length of these 4 books basically to find that like spark again. Okay. Whereas Shallan starts out, she has a very intense personality right off the bat, and she clings on to that for multiple books, and then you get to, I think when does maybe it's just Words of Radiance, when her like alter ego
it is
what's
Veil
shows up,
and
that's like because she's still Shallan at that point, and then but you see the cracks start to form until like Radiant shows up, her third alter ego, and eventually in Oathbringer Shallan kind of gets buried, and only Veil and Radiant are left on the surface. So I think her having this really consistent personality for a long time of being very witty, and it makes it really tragic how she loses herself throughout the series. Yeah. Whereas Kaladin starts at the bottom and like is slowly building himself back up, and then falls again, builds himself back up, and it's just the way that their personality arcs work against each other as contrast. I think is
they're good foils for each other's path. But like, I mean, I do agree with you, but I'm more saying from like Brandon writing Kaladin, where it kind of takes a minute in this book until it feels like Brandon has a concrete vision of how Kaladin thinks in his head. Shallan doesn't. Like, if you think about Kaladin's inner monologues in this book to book 3, it's like, Brandon found Kaladin's voice somewhere in there. I feel like Shallan's voice was always.
I think I get what you're saying.
Shallan's voice from Brandon's hand has always been incredibly, this is her. Yeah.
You guys put this a lot more elegantly than me.
All right, let's hear it.
I wrote down that she's in her Shapiro pilled phase. She's facts and logic and destroying you with facts and logic. And I love it. She's just like full blown on it right now, and it's just incredible dialogue.
And then as they're leaving.
Yeah, she runs into Yalb.
Yeah.
And Yalb is cheating souls, like
absolutely
city guard
destroying the city guards
out of money. Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, they'll kill me if they catch me." He's gonna launch a lot more.
It's fine though.
He mentions the third time's the charm because of the passions.
Yeah.
And the passions, Michael,
Jackal.
sound a lot. The passions, the way that Yalb talks about the passions sounds a lot like how people talked about the mysteries in Elantris, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think the root of both of those is definitely the same. I mean, they're called the passions and the mysteries.
There's some sort of maybe lower level force that is permanent across the Cosmere, maybe.
You also have, I mean, it's a little different in Warbreaker, but you do have the scholars and is it the scholars? That's what they're called. But they lay out the like religious rules basically, but they're a lot more grounded in that story.
Yeah,
because they're characters in the story. Mm-hmm. Huge spoilers for Warbreaker, by the way.
Yeah. But I find that interesting. The mysteries and the passions, they sound very familiar.
All right, I gotta go read Elantris.
You do.
Back to what's happening in the story. Yalb has his pep talk with Shallan and convinces her to not give up yet. So Shallan decides, you know what, I'm just going to have the largest cram session of all time.
Yeah, Shallan gets ready for her finals.
yeah, she does.
So she goes to it. She has Yalb find her a bookshop, and there's a fun little scene in the bookshop. I also, before we get to there, the way that the city is described, I love like how, because Kharbranth is such a cool city because it's a port city, so I think Brandon Sanderson has a lot of freedom to kind of play around with like the types of people that are seen, and the description of like the oil lamps, because spheres would just get stolen. It just sets it's really good scene dressing for what's happening. And then she walks into the bookshop, and it describes like this. It's like a little shop with this fireplace. Like home. Yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, I just want to hang out in this bookshop.
Yeah.
And there's a fun scene where, I don't know how much we want to talk about this, but she almost gets like really overcharged for these books. She basically lifts off a bunch of authors that Yasna had told her that she needed to read, and grabs a bunch of books, and she would have to pay like all her money that she had basically for these books. Yalb bursts in and does a little play where he
to get the price down, and then after it she's like, how did you know what a fair price for books was going to be? He's like, fair price for books? I just knew he was going to try to swindle you.
Yeah, like he's literally like, why would you pay for books? It's just
I don't understand why you pay for books in the first place. I have a specific line written down from from like the scene in the bookstore, which is, brightness, I think you stray into sarcasm. Really? I thought I'd run into it screaming at the top of my lungs. Yeah. I'll go help my wife.
Yeah, I love the whole stomach and mind metaphor she just harps on for like 5 minutes. Too.
Also, Mike, I don't know, you have this written down.
Uh-oh.
Merchants is like mercenaries, my grandma always said. Mercenaries. How are mercenaries like? Brandon has a lot to say about mercenaries.
Yeah. He does indeed.
You know what the thing about mercenaries.
The Warbreaker heads will get that
one. I did want to mention, I liked a couple things Brandon kind of sets up. I mean, he does this throughout the books, obviously, but he mentions that when Yalb comes back with the bookstore he's picked out, Shallan makes a point of noticing that it's a bookshop run by a Thaylen bookstore owner,
name is Thaylen,
which makes sense because Yalb is Thaylen, and everyone's like sticking to their
because of the eyebrows.
Oh, it's got the eyebrows. It's just everyone is sticking to their, I don't know how to put this. Yeah. I guess.
Like Yalb feels more comfortable going and asking Thaylen sailors, and the Thaylen sailors are like, "Oh, the best bookstore is the Thaylen bookstore."
Right. It makes it pretty more clear to me how much of a big deal it is what Dalinar ends up doing later on when he's uniting everyone, because it's just not a thing that would happen.
Yeah.
And also, the book owner and his wife, I remember Shallan makes a point of being like, oh, the wife's gonna go read because men don't read. Fucking Dalinar. He's just a Chad. He doesn't care. He's just the best guy. Eventually, he's the best guy.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit.
He might not be
doing.
a great guy right
He's
now.
he's got some work to do.
What was the line we were talking about? The Downer says like book 3
Oh no.
that we were hyped for.
Oh,
Oh, no, this is a good thing.
You cannot have my
cannot
pain.
have my pain. Dalinar. No, it was me.
Dalinar, my beloved.
Yeah,
He's the best.
He's the best boy.
He's the
Although
No, Adolin's the best boy.
Adolin is.
We don't
best
need to get
boy.
into this right now because
Yeah, Adolin's not even here yet. We can't talk about Adolin yet. We won't stop talking about Adolin.
It's crazy that we're like almost 200 pages into this book and we
It hasn't started yet.
Yeah.
I know. I thought that had already happened. It's nuts.
We haven't met Adolin. We haven't really met Dalinar besides the starting scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know he's really a main character yet.
Yeah.
Oh.
The starting scene doesn't make it clear.
Shallan's also racist still, so that's cool. Light eyes, dark eyes, that's still a big thing. I forgot about that coming
That's
back
not
to
racist,
the first
that's
book.
classist.
Yeah, class is racist, biased, whatever you want.
Biased. So, there was another thing. Oh, one thing that happens in the bookstore that I thought was kind of an interesting thing was, so one of the philosophers that Yasna told Shallan to look into is a Shin philosopher. And Yasna's like, oh, I didn't know there were any Shin philosophers.
Shallan.
Shallan, did I say Yasna?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, Shallan says, I didn't know there were any Shin philosophers. And she mentions that it was a Shin that killed Gavilar
Yeah.
6 years ago. So we know the time span of that. I don't. We might have already known that, but just says that again. So you know it's 6 years ago, and it's clear that it's common knowledge how the king died.
Yep.
Which was not something I really thought about, but it's like, oh, well, if it kind of makes sense that like
It would get out
yeah,
somehow.
it would get out.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
they're doing the whole war and stuff, but it's very clear that we know how the king died, or everyone in Alethkar knows how the king died, basically, and the surrounding areas. So,
I have a quote.
yeah.
I do too.
It was a desperate attempt, so frail that a strong gust of circumstance would be fit to topple it. Is just phenomenal wordplay.
Yeah.
Big fan of how that sounds. That's it.
Yeah, I forgot one I really liked earlier. When Yalb is walking with Shallan and just like going back and forth about how Yasna's an idiot and should have taken her and she's stupid. He's walking backwards. So Yalb goes, "But you're perfect. Pardon my forwardness." And then Shallan hits him with, "You're walking backward." And he goes, "Pardon my backwardness." Then it's just like, yeah.
I also that's another one of those, because I say this a lot, like the scenes that I can just see in the TV show.
Oh,
I can
totally.
see that them walking and like the camera's next to them, and then it does the little root as Yalb does the hop in front of her, and puts his hands in like his big sailor pants or whatever. He's walking with his hands in his pockets, just trotting backwards, talking to her. Like I can see that so vividly in my head.
One more thing I had written down about this. When she's in the shop and the shopkeeper's talking about how much the books are going to cost, I've read all 4 of the books. I'm rereading them now. I have no fucking clue the value of the spears, spears and how they go into each other still.
He said 10 emerald bromes. I was like, I guess so.
I
I knew
guess
it was
it's
a
a
bad deal because I read it before, but I was
Chips,
like, I don't know.
marks,
Yeah.
bromes.
Yeah.
I know that emerald is the most expensive because you can soulcast wheat out of it, or you can use emerald to soulcast wheat or grain. And I believe diamond is the least expensive.
Diamond's the bottom. Yeah.
I don't know anything else.
Yeah. But you can have like chips and marks of like each of them, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Which
You can
makes it extra confusing.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Oh my God. I can't do that. It's too much
So-
math.
It's a money system that has multiple like break points essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really confusing, and maybe someday I'll figure out how it works, but
Not today.
it's cool because the money has the value in the money comes from the soul casting of the
Yeah, it comes from like the literal physical use of the gem.
Yeah.
Moving into the next part.
Yes.
Shallan gets the alcove right next to Yasna. She goes back to the Vale with her books. She's gonna keep an eye on her because she wants to know when she's about to leave Thalena, so she can hop in and be like, "Look at all the shit I studied." So she's in the alcove right next to her, and she's kind of in her own head, thinking about like, "Oh my god, I have so much studying to do," and like, "Oh my, just like, Yasna's gonna kill me the next time I talk to her." And then out of nowhere, we get the "Never going to be rid of you, am I?" I love Yasna so much.
She's the best.
And the reason that Yasna walked up on Shallan and knew that Shallan was there to sneak up on her is because she bribed the servants to tell me if you entered the Vale again.
I was gonna say though, do you think she actually bribed them or just told Ivory? Because presumably Ivory's around like, hey,
yeah, that's
look
a great
for Shallan.
point. Pattern does a lot of spying for Shallan
Exactly.
in the future. I'm gonna go with that as my headcanon.
Yeah, I think that's cute.
I don't think there's an answer
And like,
for
why
that.
would Shallan pay those people if she didn't, or Shallan, Yasna pay those people if she didn't have to?
That's a good point. I do. That's my headcanon.
I like it.
I like
it.
thinking of Ivory coming back and being like, "The girl has come back, mistress."
Yeah.
Also, wait, actually, because I don't have a ton more. I do want to bring this up and have a little discussion about this because, like, we get a ton of mention every time Yasna speaks in these first couple chapters with her. It's mentioned like how tired she is, how fatigued she looks, and I do want to talk about how fucking annoying Shallan must be from Yasna's perspective, knowing everything that Yasna knows at this period of time and how few people are taking her seriously, right? Because when we get into this whole, at the end of this book, into the second book, it's taken seriously. Like, Dalinar is kind of on the page. He's not on the same page yet, but he's started reading the book at least.
Yeah.
But like in all through this book, Yasna is the only one that realizes that the end of the world is coming in her lifetime. And she's, studying all this shit, and then this fucking shit-ass, like, redhead appears.
Well, Shallan ends up figuring it out, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, like, I mean at this point.
Yeah.
Like, Yasna's gotta be like, "God, this fucking kid,
I
dude."
would love a ward right now. A ward would be so helpful right now. Yeah, right. Okay. Find me Urithiru, please. That's your first assignment.
Speaking of which, this chapter ends with Shallan being taken on as Yasna's ward.
Oh.
Yeah.
She's impressed.
Before we finish the discussion of this, because there was one line from Yasna I really liked at the end here. They're just kind of going back and forth a little bit. This is Yasna basically saying, like, I'm accepting you because you're complicated. There's more to you. You're not the perfect scholar, but that's not all that matters.
She says something like, it is important to take the context of one's life into account.
Yes, and she also says, but we are each many different people, which for Shallan in particular will hit quite hard later on in these books.
I think Shallan needs to reread Way of Kings at some
She
point.
does.
Do we want to move on to the next chapter?
Yeah, that's all I had.
All right, chapter 9. We get yet another depressing Kaladin chapter.
Let's go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't have too many notes on this.
Really quick. Yasna mentions that she knows why Shallan's here, and Shallan gets really tense. And Yasna goes, because your father's not well liked, so it's obviously going to be really good for you if you have a colon relationship to get married. And Shallan relaxes at that. So, like, actually, hold on. We know why Shallan's here, right?
Little tense,
okay.
little
So then,
tension.
just even more allusion to the fact that Shallan is here for very complicated reasons.
I'm just wondering, I'm trying to remember,
And then
does Yas actually know why she's here?
No.
No, not yet.
Just the way that it plays out, no.
No, yeah.
Because
I don't
remember
think so.
the
I'm trying to think if she would have any information that would let her know
Probably
about Shallan's family.
I don't
not.
think so.
Well, because her dad is connected to the Sons of Honor.
So,
the
that's
Ghost
something
Bloods.
Ghostbloods.
I totally forgot to mention. Shallan mentions a strange collection of maps her father had. I
Those
don't
are
know.
probably the same maps that Amaram has in his map room
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
second or third book.
You would think she would recognize them, though. Shallan being Shallan. She'd just go,
Maybe
boop,
she
and then
does.
know them.
Well, she would have been a child when she saw the maps,
What?
basically.
Listen,
No,
child
no,
smile.
she would have been, because they find the maps after the dad dies.
Oh,
They're like
yeah.
all these maps that we found in his study after he's dead.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was just something.
But
That's the
also one last thing. The last thing is Yasna going like, I rent rooms here. Like, go sleep. You look exhausted, child.
Yeah.
I fucking love Yasna so much.
All right. Now are we ready to move on to chapter 9?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this chapter opens. I don't know how much there's to say about this chapter besides it's more depressing Kaladin stuff. So it opens. It's nearly 40. It says nearly 40-minute Bridge 4 have died since Cal joined.
Yeah.
And basically, yeah, the only other survivor of Cal's first run gets killed in this chapter, and so Kaladin's the only one left.
I literally wrote down, Jesus Christ, we run through a lot of people before we get to Bridge 4.
Yeah.
It is rough.
Yeah.
Oh, the death rattle, though? Sorry, this at
Yeah,
the
let's
beginning.
talk about the death rattle. I don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
it written down.
It's the Heralds versus the Everstorm.
Do you have what it is
Right?
written?
I don't have the exact thing written down. I just wrote that the death rattle is quite literally, the imagery is like 13 people standing against a big oncoming red black wall of just bad. Presumably. I mean, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. But
Well, Sam looks for that because Sam said he doesn't have a whole lot of notes about this chapter. I surprisingly do.
ah.
All right,
So-
I got it.
Yeah, read
Oh,
it off.
you got it.
Oh, yeah. 10 people with shard blades
Oh,
alight
10.
standing before a wall of black and white and red. Collected Yesashiv 1173 12 seconds pre-death. Subject, one of our own Ardents overheard during his last moments.
I want to say, I mean, being a reread podcast and being the fact that we're spoiling everything, everyone should know this, but we all know how interesting it is for the wording there to be one of our own Ardents.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Because where are the death rattles coming from, right?
Yeah.
The death rattles are coming from inside the house.
Save
That's
that because
the
I want
title.
you to have the
I
next.
think that's the title.
That's the title, yeah. Save that because I want you to read the next death rattle as well.
Okay.
Or the next.
I also want to put... I don't know how I skipped over this. I don't know if the... Mike, are you reading it or are you listening
Yeah,
to it?
this is a moment to call out my stupidity. I listened to 1 through 4, not realizing chulls were bugs. I saw the picture of the chull. I don't remember if it's this one or the next chapter.
Everything in this fucking book is a bug.
It's all bugs.
They're
I
all
didn't realize
crustaceans.
it's all
Guys, they're
bugs.
all crustaceans.
And
What
crustaceans.
did you think they were? Like
I don't
cows?
know. In my head, I kind of just like filled in. Oh, kind of lowish fantasy goat-looking creature,
Goat?
pack animal, whatever.
Oh, yeah, I got
Like
you.
some sort of pack animal.
Dude, they're just big
thing.
lobsters.
They're just big lobsters. They're
What-
big hermit crabs.
So because we talked
Lobsters.
about this in the last episode, I thought they were like, I pictured more lobsters because the art is in the last set of chapters we read. And I like my head version better of that, better than what they showed in the book,
lobster.
to be honest.
Yeah.
But I just noticed this one before chapter 9. There's a really cool schematic of how the bridge crews function, and it is like basically exactly how I imagined in my head.
I'll try to throw it up on the screen.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know if I. Oh, I don't think I had that in my book.
Yeah,
This is
I
insane.
have the like leather
Yeah,
bound
you-
edition. These two were very nice and got the leather bound volumes of Wave Kings for me for my birthday. So
Merry Christmas.
I've been very much enjoying reading through these. I feel almost bad reading through them because they're so nice.
That's what they're for.
Brandon would yell at you.
I know.
I'm pretty sure there's even a note on the website like these are meant to be read.
Yeah.
They're books.
But I
or
am
something.
planning on getting Words of Radiance once that one
Yeah.
launches. I don't think it's out yet,
I
but
think Warbreaker has one or is having one.
yeah, a couple of the other books have them.
Yeah.
Oh, did you want me to get the next death rattle?
Yeah, you can wait though. It's okay.
Right.
So I have a couple just quick bullet point notes about this chapter, which is Kaladin's in and out of becoming the Wretch a lot. So there's like this whole, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it seems like we just go to the chasms for the chrysalises, and even then, like, I don't get it. What about the Vengeance Pact? Like, there's a lot of that. He doesn't understand why they're fighting. It's something about the chrysalises, but what does that have to do with the Vengeance Pact? And then it always ends the thoughts with the, but he doesn't actually care. That was the old Kaladin that cared. Like,
Yep.
the new Kaladin doesn't give a shit. So you get that.
We get another mention of Tien as well.
We do get another mention of Tien. We know that the bridge crews don't learn names.
Mm-hmm. They mention
everything seems like some sort of grand game to the Light Eyes.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Kaladin mentions this, and I don't know if this is a sentiment they kind of all hold in Sadeas's camp, but that Bridge 4 seems to get targeted more often by the Parshendi. I don't know if that's just them being bridgemen and thinking that because everyone dies when you're a bridgeman, but I don't know. This is just... Would there be any reason Bridge 4 would be targeted?
I don't
it wouldn't make sense.
Because I was like, well, is it because Kaladin's there and for some reason...
But Kaladin wasn't there?
I know, he wasn't there before, and it was like already established that it's bad luck.
I don't know.
I mean, it's probably just one of those things where, like, they noticed it was bad luck on the first couple bridge runs, so they started filling all the bad people there and perpetuated the own bad luck cycle by only giving them terrible people.
Yeah.
But, Scylla's worried. He hasn't spoken in a couple days. Brief mention of the honor chasm. Brief callback to Liren saying there are those who save lives and those who take lives. Kaladin thinking there is a third kind of people who kill in order to save lives, and then correcting himself saying there are people who exist to be saved or to be killed. The victims. That's all I am. I'm a victim. And then he says we exist to be killed if we're not dead already. Not doing great.
Yay, so happy.
You're not doing great. Oh, Syl also mentions, I don't know if this is the first time, because I haven't read the previous chapters, but she mentions that she had been following Kaladin before this.
Yes.
Yep, that's important, because the way she talks is like, Kaladin even does, there's this fucking old Cal versus the Wretch, where he's like, wait a second, but she only appeared when I was in the slave caravans, but he's like, but I don't care about asking those questions because I am the Wretch. I don't care about that.
Yep. Any other thoughts on this chapter before we move on? It's a pretty quick one.
No, yeah, that's
actually, I do think it's important to mention that Kaladin's figured out the only way that you can be punished by execution is refusing to run.
Oh, yeah.
That is the only way you'll be killed. Any other things, they'll flog you, they'll tie you up in the high storms or whatever, but the only way to get killed is by refusing to run.
It's very, reminds me of... I'm surprised it's taken me 3 episodes before I make a Warhammer reference. It's very Imperial Guard in 40k.
Oh, yeah.
The commissar's just executing. You're as likely to get killed by a commissar as you are the enemy.
Big time. Big time.
Yeah. That's the... And it's... They mentioned that that's how they motivate them to keep doing this, like, terrifying and traumatizing thing of running bridges, is that they're able to hold... They save execution for that one crime. Anything else...
There's a direct quote from the book, I believe, is running the bridge may get you killed. Refusing to run the bridge will get you killed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying.
Yeah. It's not good.
Is this the darkest book? This one might be the darkest book out of the 4.
Probably because it's got the most Sadeas and Sadeasness about it, I would say. And he's Sadeas, so
I would say this is the darkest book. This is the most grounded. I don't want to...
No one has powers yet.
Yes.
No, I don't even think that. This is what I mean. Up until the end of this book, I never thought the thing that happens at the end of this book, where Dalinar gives up his shard blade to Sadeas to save the bridgeman, the way that this book is written up until that moment, I don't see that happening. This feels too Game of Thrones. This feels too real, where someone of Dalinar's stature would never do that. And that's the point where this kind of takes a high fantasy turn, where it's like, no, he would do that for this fucking scraggly ass 19-year-old just because he asked. Like, That's the turn of where this becomes an epic instead of just like this terrible story told in fantasy times, is when the characters that we've been following get together in the big grand epic.
Like true heroism exists in this universe.
Yes.
Like I would argue that like that's not really a thing in something like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have a tough
I haven't.
time making
So I
that
watched
argument.
the show, but I've read the first book too.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Brave soul.
I
couldn't get through the first big scene with Drogo and Daenerys.
I don't know. I'm kind of interested to go read the books. The show. I think at the time I watched it like in college, and I enjoyed it, but it's very like I prefer this kind of fantasy stuff now, where there's some fun. I either like what I found is I either prefer like this sort of like epic story where there's like really redeemable characters and like people you can root for, or something that's so far on the other scale like Warhammer 40K where it's just to the point of being ridiculous and it becomes funny.
Yeah.
Whereas Game of Thrones is like so serious and like everyone sucks and like the good characters are punished only with death.
Yeah.
I do think
it's just depressing. Like I'm just not.
I do think there's something about the how
not
old
that they're
I
bad
was.
books. I just want to like
Game of Thrones fans, please.
Yeah.
We're fine.
I loved Game of Thrones when I watched it.
Yeah.
Minus the last season.
Listen, season 7. Yikes, season 8.
But I respect the writing of those books and that type of fantasy is just this is the stuff I'm more interested in right now.
Yeah.
Kaladin in Game of Thrones would have killed himself at the Honor Chasm.
No, I think Kaladin in Game of Thrones would have become evil.
Oh, big time.
Become evil?
Yeah.
He would have taken the shards.
He would have turned into like Ramsay Bolton. Basically.
He 120% would have taken Helleran shards immediately. And just fucking murdered Amaram. That's what would have happened if this was Game of Thrones.
Yep.
There's something about the way that Brandon writes the tropes where you go, oh, this is going to go out this way. And instead of going out the trope way, it makes you feel good. Like the way that the tropes are set up to make you feel good. I don't know.
And it's weird that we're talking about this being like a story that makes you feel good in like the most depressing chapter of a book I've ever read.
But it's because and I think this is the greatest difference is that if this chapter was written exactly how it was in Game of Thrones, not in Game of Thrones, but in Game of Thrones,
tonally basically, like that kind of
so like
context
if this is how it was, it would be setting up for Kaladin to die horribly in the future. But because it's Way of Kings, written by Brandon Sanderson, this is horrible, so that in the future, when Kaladin rises above it, you're like, fuck yeah, Kaladin! Let's go!
Yeah.
All the shit you went through! Instead of just being like, oh, yep, that's my boy dying horribly, because all he's ever done the whole series has had horrible things happen to him, so of course he's going to die horribly.
There were multiple points in this book and the whole series. When I first started, I listened to these on audiobook first, because I, at the time, had like an hour and a half commute to work where I was working, and there were multiple times we driving home from work just cheering in my car.
Oh my god, I still do that. I still do that with Mistborn.
I mean, fucking, yeah.
Like by myself, like, let's go!
Were we talking about it earlier today with the fucking, you cannot have my bane! Yeah. Like, that's so hype.
Mm-hmm.
Kaladin going, I cannot, like, I need to accept there are those I cannot save.
Yeah.
Like, ugh!
Yeah.
My boy.
The one that really, this is jumping way far ahead, but I have to talk about the one that really got me is when Kaladin jumps into the arena to help Adolin.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Honor is dead. But I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
Oh,
he jumps into the arena, and it goes from me going like, yes, let's go, Kaladin, and then he immediately goes, I challenge Amaram.
Yeah,
and I'm like, no,
what are you doing?
Yeah, dude. That entire, I mean, we're going to talk about it way more when it comes up, so I don't feel bad talking about it lightly right now, but like,
I can't even
just Adolin.
That's this book, right?
No, it's book 2.
That's Words of Radiance.
It's halfway through. Yeah, I know. Dude, fucking Honor is dead. But I'll see what I can do. Baller line, considering they don't know the ramifications of Tanavast yet.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know, like, especially Kaladin. Maybe Dalinar knows at that point, but Kaladin doesn't know that Honor is dead. So Kaladin going, Honor is dead. but I'll see what I can do. So fucking badass.
So cool.
And then, yeah, just the thought of Kaladin jumping into the arena with 5, like, literally invincible people. That's another one of those scenes that I think would play out phenomenally on TV, especially if the camera is focused from Adolin's perspective, because Adolin's getting beat the fuck up, his plate's cracking, he looks over, suddenly Bridgman Kaladin is in the fucking arena, he looks over again, his brother's in the goddamn arena, but the dude fighting his brother isn't fighting Renarin, he's poking the sand with his sword.
So good.
Like, it's just, Adolin's gotta be sitting there in that moment like, what the actual fuck happened?
I want to see that scene shot like the fight between the Mountain and Pedro Pascal.
Yeah. Oh man.
That scene
That
is
would be
hype.
good.
Even though I
really
even
good
though
scene.
I'm not super into Game of Thrones anymore, that scene is all time.
Yeah, I mean, there's still scenes from Game of Thrones where you're like, Jesus Christ, what a show.
Yeah.
Like, they did good at some points.
Yeah.
And then,
That's all I'll say.
just really quickly, still on the arena, Adolin sitting in prison the whole time. And then when they get out, and Adolin's like, I mean, like, I don't think that you should have challenged Amaranth, but he is a douche.
Oh, that's the beginning of the
like
bromance.
fucking, you didn't ruin the plan. Gavilar ruined, or you didn't ruin the plan. Alucard ruined the plan by being a big baby. You didn't do a good thing, but it was Alucard's fault. I just love Adolin in that moment.
Gavilar did ruin everyone's
Alucard.
plans. Though.
I mean, oh yeah, no, yeah. Gavilar did ruin everybody's
He
plan.
kind of ruined everything. We'll find out later on.
Yeah.
I can't even talk about my. I know you guys just talked about your lines that you really like. I can't talk. We can't say ours, or at least mine. Elantris. You know exactly what line I'm talking about from the end of Elantris. That is my
You
favorite
should
one.
know Arteth. Yeah, that is so good. Nothing I do is for show.
For show. Oh my god.
Dude, that goes so... Sam, you do really gotta
know.
fucking Elantris.
Oh my god.
Once I finish this real-time book, I'll get to it.
Yeah, dude, I shot up out of my chair.
I know. I like yelled out loud. It was
Because as soon as that happens, the way that they've been talking about that up until that scene, you're like, damn, he's gonna talk at you. And then
Yeah.
it doesn't, and he says that, and you're like, oh my god!
have fun editing that. Screaming. Oh yeah. Anyway. Sorry. Anyway.
Back to the present?
Yeah.
All right.
We can talk about that when you read Elantris, and then we do our
Fine.
Elantris episode.
Tomorrow.
Do it on
Tomorrow.
this episode. So back to the present. I think we've discussed chapter 9 and the rest of the series at this point.
Yeah. So that's a wrap.
On to chapter 10. So the first thing that jumps out, there's no memory collected at the start of this chapter, or death rattle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
How did I not make a note of that?
I didn't notice that either.
I'm an idiot.
No death rattle.
No death rattle started this chapter. I don't know what significance that has, but it just jumped out because
I don't really
All
understand what significance it has either.
Flashbacks? Do any of the other flashbacks have
we'll have to
death
keep
rattles?
track of that.
Yeah. I don't know. Real Minecraft villager noise there.
All right.
Anyway, okay, stop.
So this chapter is a flashback of Kaladin
When he was 9,
when he was
little boy.
Yeah, when he's
Simpler
doing surgery
times.
with his father, Lirin.
Yeah, I've got Lirin! Exclamation point, and then Hasina! Exclamation
That
point.
is so funny. I literally started with Lirin! Exclamation point and almost put down Hasina! Exclamation point, but I was like, why would I mention that?
Hasina!
Oh my goodness.
We also get a lot of really important historical context
Yeah.
in this flashback.
Yeah,
Cal's
yeah.
father, Cal basically messes up something about the Radiants and the Heralds, and Cal's like, no, this is what the Heralds did and this is what the Radiants did, and the Radiants are demons. The Heralds are the ones that guide us. And
It reminds me of this thing that has been said about Doctor Who, whereas like Doctor Who gets away with
no Doctor Who.
Shut up.
talk.
Listen.
We talked Warhammer. You can't do that to him.
Doctor
That's not
Who
fair.
gets away with explaining everything because they always throw in a companion that doesn't know anything, so the Doctor gets the exposition dump to the companion. This is another incredibly clever way of exposition dumping, which is Kaladin being wrong, so then Lirin has to correct him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just for us. It's just exposition for us, but it's clever.
I think this is about when he's chastising him, but he mentioned Lirin says a particular line that I found quite ironic considering what we know of the heralds at this time. Even he says the heralds were wise beyond our understanding, which they were once. But nowadays, you don't want to be talking to Talon about
Yeah,
like
nowadays Shalash is running around cutting her face out of paintings because
Yeah, if you're having a crisis of faith, don't go to Ishar anytime soon. It's not gonna.
He'll kill you.
Yeah, well, he might murder you.
So we also get some important context about Kaladin's hometown of Hearthstone. It's a pretty large town, but it's very remote, and we get that because Liren has glasses. He says they're the most important gift that was ever given to him, or like the one of greatest value. And that's because it would be really hard to replace them because they're super remote. And they're also lucky because they're one of the few kind of remote towns that has a surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of end up taking it for granted. And Cal has some very conflicting feelings about, well, we're profiting off of people's suffering, but it'd be better than them not having a surgeon here. It's just a very interesting way of looking at it.
he's also conflicted about the profit because Liren doesn't charge for his surgeries. They subsist off of donations.
Yep.
And he thinks Liren should charge.
Yeah.
Also,
You talk about the spheres.
no, going back a second
I'm going to talk
to
about
the
spheres
exposition.
after this.
Because Liren tells Kaladin to wash his hands.
Yep.
Because the Radiance...
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
The Radiance knew that washing your hands kept away Deathspren and Rotspren, and Liren doesn't know why, but believes the Radiant science, so he still believes in it.
Yeah.
So we've got this, like, fantasy reasoning of why science makes sense, you know? Like, why antiseptic is that the word? is a thing.
Yeah.
And stuff like
so.
that.
Just hygiene in general.
Yeah.
The other important bit of this is a very short chapter, and there's so much important information crammed into it.
Yeah.
The other thing we learn about is the spheres that Liren uses for light in surgery are on permanent loan from the High Lord of the region, which is a very important sticking point in the plot later on. Are these spheres? I don't know if it's these spheres specifically, or
I don't know either, but
No.
in rereading this chapter, it made me go, "Oh, I get it. It's the spheres that he has lent to him for light."
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Because it was like a full. It's a full bowl of diamond bromes.
Oh yeah.
Is the thing because diamond gives the best light.
Interesting.
either
Also-
even if it's not the same spheres, it establishes that Liren and his family have a relationship with the current High Lord,
Yes.
and that he's kind of, and we're not introduced. I'm forgetting her name, the High Lord's daughter.
Oh God.
We're not introduced to her yet, but
They mention her in this chapter. Kaladin mentions her
What's her
because
name?
it's something about I don't know her name either, but
Yeah. No.
it's something about the girl on the table in her shift. Kaladin's like, the other boys talk about like being able to peek at girls in their shifts, but I don't understand why it's so exciting. And then he thinks about the High Lord's daughter.
Yeah.
And he's
Oh.
worried about her.
Huh.
And they say her name. I just don't have it written down.
Yeah.
We also get a quick thing that, like, despite Liren's knowledge of the Radiance and the Heralds, it's Kaladin's heard him say that he doesn't believe in the Voidbringers.
Yep.
He doesn't
Yep,
think they
yep, yep.
existed. And Liren can read.
Yes. Good point.
he also wants to send Kaladin to study in Kharbranth to be a surgeon, and Kaladin's conflicted about that because he's like, well, that I would love to explore the world a bit, but I also want to be a soldier.
Yes. And protect people.
But he is also like very proficient at surgery and like learning how to be a surgeon.
Yeah, so it's established that Cal wants to see a real Light Eyes and dreams of fighting for Amaram, but in present day, we already know that future Cal hates Light Eyes and fucking hates Amaram.
Yeah.
So something happens in between this flashback and where Kaladin is in present for that to go down. We also get Liren say, King Gavilar always finds someone for us to fight when they're talking about who they fight. And then we also get Cal being like, I want to fight, and Liren being like, buddy, you grind your teeth whenever you see me setting someone's bone.
Yeah.
And it's mentioned, I just, the wording here is important. Cal is squeamish and Lyran doubts that Cal would be able to hurt someone, but Cal wants to for honor. It's specifically for honor that Kaladin wants to join Amaram's army. And that's just important.
Amaram's a very honorable guy.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's a cool guy.
We also get confirmation that I even on my first read I remember suspecting this, but yeah, it's because they signal it pretty hard. But TN is indeed Kaladin's younger
Right.
brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we get actual confirmation.
Yeah.
Of that.
True.
Yes. And then I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
I
time.
do really like that this is the start of Lyran and Kaladin's just constant back and forth about soldiering and how do you protect people best and what is an honorable way to go about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might come back later though.
Chapter 11?
Yeah.
Chapter 11.
Chapter 11. I have a lot of notes on this chapter.
Yeah.
I
have a lot of quotes.
I have a few quotes too. This is not a super long chapter, but this is like the first big turning point of the series.
Yes. Yes.
And especially it's like Kaladin's like defining moment for
You know it's going to be big and impactful to the story because it's the last chapter before interludes.
Yes.
Something big always fucking happens in the last chapter before interludes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then funny thing about the interludes, so I got my girlfriend Jenna into reading these books, she's planning on being on as a guest at some point. But she said when she started reading this book, she was having trouble getting into it, and she skipped the interludes the first time she read it.
No, I mean some of the interludes, to be honest with you, were very hard to follow when I was just getting into, especially these first three.
In this book.
I want to read these three in particular because I'm pretty sure it was these three where I was like, I don't know this is all the people.
Yeah.
What's happening? I want to go back to Cal.
She read these and then skipped the rest of them.
That's funny.
That is really funny.
They're not a point. That's fine.
I would have, yeah, I see that. That's valid. Just listening to this Axis the Collector interlude and being like, this isn't fucking important.
Wait, it's Axis the Collector?
One of these first ones is Axis the Collector, yeah. So it is actually kind of sick. You don't know why it's sick, but it's sick.
Totally unrelated to Axis the Collector. Did you read Edge Dancer?
Yes.
Okay.
We've talked about this.
Yeah. Okay.
Times.
I don't doubt it.
He said.
You haven't read Edge Dancer either?
No.
You haven't read?
Dude, do you even know anything about Lift at all?
I know she
know who
slides.
she is?
She slides around.
She do be sliding.
Did you know that meme?
No.
Where it's just the soccer player sliding off the field.
Oh man. We gonna talk about the death rattle?
Oh
yeah, you got to read the death rattle for chapter 11. Sam, this might be a conversation that you're actually not allowed to participate in. This might be for Mike and I.
Well, I can't even talk about this with you fully.
Really?
I think. I don't know.
How are we doing on time?
This is...
An hour and 3 minutes.
Yeah, we can keep going. We'll finish this chapter.
Yeah,
this might be a little bit longer of an episode, but that's okay.
That's okay.
We got a guest on. This very special episode.
Your very special guest.
Very special guest.
Jack Morelli.
No.
One of the few times I'm here in Lucid.
Yeah, we can't. I can't share my theory.
The special guest is actually
Really?
Yeah.
the special guest is Jack's conscious mind.
I'm lucid in this moment.
Jack's object permanence and presence here right now.
All right, read the death rattle.
Yeah,
all right.
anyway,
Chapter 11, Droplets. I forgot these had titles.
I have all the titles written down. I forgot to say them.
I haven't been reading the titles. I'm gonna go back and read the titles. Droplets. That's such a good title.
Yeah.
That's such a good title.
Yeah,
Dude, the last Kaladin one was Damnation.
Yeah.
So, chapter 11, Droplets. 3 of 16 ruled, but now the broken one reigns. Collected Shallan, I think. 1173, 84 seconds pre-death. Subject, a curse of wasting sickness, of partial Iriali descent. And before we talk about this more, I think one hint in the death rattles here They're all within like. Are they all? Have they all been in 1173 so far? There's one in 1172.
So
they're all around the same time.
I do think that is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Because at the end of this book, when they're talking about the death rattles, Taravangian mentions the name of the thing that causes them, which we don't ever come back to until I think 3, when the Unmade become a big plot point. But the Unmade, the thing, the entity that causes the death rattles, Taravangian says it's moved to the Horneater Peaks, which is why they got like that's why this whole death rattle collection thing became such a big enterprising thing to Taravangian, is because he realized it had moved into Kharbranth and he was getting such a high number of them that he was like, let's just fucking start yakking people off so we could collect all of these while he's here.
Oh, Taravangian.
And then when he started moving
brains.
away and he was getting less and less, because that's one of the things is that scene where you get the hospice thing at the end of this book, where you get the reveal of the death rattles, is the fact that they're getting less and less of them now. Taravangian's talking about that. It's because of this.
Because the Unmade is moving.
Yeah. So yeah, that is incredibly important.
Yeah. So going into chapter 11.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, no.
Yeah.
Well,
So do you have any thoughts about the
death
rattle?
Yeah.
No.
16 isn't an important number to you?
Is it?
3 of 16.
3 of 16.
Honor, cultivation, odium. There are 16 shards of Adonalsium.
Out of what?
What now?
So the lore, which is I'm pretty sure
the
lore, because look, this was established in Dragonsteel, which was a book written and I believe entirely scrapped except for Hoyd's backstory, and he's going to rewrite it and publish it in the future. That's what I know about Dragonsteel. If I'm wrong, correct me.
Isn't that what the original title?
Yeah.
It became Way of Kings.
It became Way of Kings, but it was also a totally
yeah.
different story about Yolen and Hoyd and the people who took down Adonalsium. So Adonalsium was God before the shards shattered it. 16 people shattered Adonalsium and took on the pieces of the power that came from the shattering.
Hold that thought real quick.
Yeah.
Cultivation is the what's her name that.
Not quite.
No.
Cultivation is the mother of the Night Watcher.
The Night Watcher. That's
the
what
Night Watcher
right.
sits there and gets people to come to it, and when Cultivation looks and goes, "Ooh, that's an interesting person," she appears.
Right.
Remember? Yeah.
But she is the one who like grants
the important stuff.
She does the monkey paw meme.
I mean, I think the Night Watcher does.
But it's a good monkey paw.
Listen, I think
Sometimes.
the Night Watch. I think the Night
Sometimes.
Watcher does the bad ones. The everyday man ones, and I think Cultivation does the lifts and the Dalinars and the Taravangians. Yeah.
Good.
I mean,
Taravangians good though?
I didn't say it was good. I meant more
know.
powerful. I think the Night
Yeah,
Watcher's
yeah.
fucking your dick shrinks 1 inch, but you get eyesight back in both your eyes, and then Cultivation's you stay 12 forever, but you become a Radiant. They have different powers.
You become a Radiant, but you stay 12 forever?
Question mark?
Interesting. You stay forever radiant, but
I don't know. That sounds like Edge Dancer stuff that I don't know about.
What?
Like Lift's origin?
It actually might be. Yeah. They might mention.
I know she
Although
talks
I
about
thought
it
it
does
was...
mention that she goes to the Night Watcher in these books, but I don't think it really mentions what happens there.
Okay, it might be Edge Dancer where we learn that it's someone that's definitely more powerful than the Night Watcher. But it might not be until Dalinar revisits it that we connect the dots.
I'm just saying
so.
lifts like wish.
No. Yeah.
That's a Night Dancer.
Oh, you don't know that she wished to be young forever.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That
okay.
might. I think that's an edge.
Yeah, she literally
thing,
just didn't want to grow old.
She's just Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's afraid of responsibility.
Yeah.
So Cultivation gave her insane amounts of responsibility.
Actually, bad news. Yeah.
Well, so the other thing with
You're going to
Lift
be one
is-
of the healing classes. Good
Yeah,
luck.
have fun.
Well, her curse isn't as much. I mean, that's part of it, but then the other one is the more real one is that she doesn't consume stormlight. She consumes energy.
Well, she consumes Cultivation's light.
Yes.
light.
And she has to eat.
Yeah, because cultivation is life. So she takes in life fuel, food, the fuel of life. That's her Stormlight, is cultivation's power.
We've gone very off the rails here.
Oh, yeah.
So back to the death rattle and the shattering of adamantium or whatever his name is.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, yeah, that was God before the shards existed.
What's his name?
Adonalsium.
Adonalsium?
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 I don't know.
Adonalsium.
But
Adirondack?
Ad nauseum?
and this is again jumping really far, and we'll come back to it when it's relevant. But fucking the epitaphs in book 3, like the death rattles, they're not death rattles in book 3, but what they are is letters to Hoyd, and one of them mentions
Adonalsium.
like the fact that he was there when it happened and chose not to take the power.
Yes. Yeah,
That's a very
yeah.
important mention in the epitaphs, and it's from the youngest shard. It's the one that's very confused with how to be a shard, and is like, listen, I don't know the right answer to give you, buddy, but like you had the opportunity to take the power and you chose not to. So
Yes.
so Hoyd was there. Is
Oh, yeah.
is the main takeaway.
He's been around.
So that's just the death rattle.
Anyway, there's a chapter, too.
There's a whole chapter here too. And the chapter is amazing too. So this chapter is about Cal grappling with the hopelessness he's facing, and he travels to the Honor Chasm, which we got a mention of in the last chapter. And it's basically the one like mercy they describe as the one mercy that's left to the Bridgemen. They let
He's beaten down. He has no will left, and on top of it all, he has a beard. And you can't fucking stand
Oh, he
having a
hates
beard.
it.
Oh my god, the beard.
It's like
Big
it's
problem.
like
It's like an axe sound
It's like an
pop.
axe
Every
sound.
boy dreams of the day you'll get one. He doesn't realize how annoying they'll be.
So Cal walks out into the what do they call it? Like the remnants of the high storm.
It's called the Riddens, but it's also an hour before the Riddens.
Yeah, so it's still like pouring out.
It's like it's said it's probably the soonest it is safe to go out in a high storm, but most people wouldn't want to go out in a high storm anyways.
And he runs into Gaz, who has his spheres that he's
Strung
trying to
up.
get infused. So I don't know if what's been mentioned before, but this is how spheres are infused. Around a high storm, and
I think that's
Storm
new
Lord.
lore.
I think that's new for this chapter.
When we get like
Believe so.
the money lenders and stuff mentioned, and the fact that Dun spheres can be traded and all that.
Yep. So some of the soldiers do this because the infused spheres are worth more than Dun spheres. And Gaz is like, you better not be stealing spheres. And then Cal's like, I'm going to the Honor Chasm, actually.
Actually.
And it shuts Gaz up.
Yeah.
And his response is, Lord Ling, leave the sandals and vest.
Yeah. That was like one of the things I read. It's just so dark. He's like, because he says, because I don't want to send someone down to go retrieve them.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God.
Ay, ay, ay.
Also, the next paragraph after that is making it very clear that every Bridgeman suffers from insane PTSD, and they just don't have the word for it.
They
Yeah.
talk
That's
about-
what it is.
They talk about the blankets, and they're
Yes.
like, everyone gets one blanket. You can either use it to sleep on top of, or to go over yourself. So you get to choose between being warm and not being in pain.
You could freeze or you could ache.
Yeah, those were your options. And then a lot of the Bridgemen choose the third option, which is wrap it around your head so you can't see or hear anything.
Yeah.
It's
You can
so
make
dark.
yourself a little Joe Rogan tank. Isolation, deprivation. I don't know the word. You know what I'm trying to say?
sensory deprivation.
Yeah.
To the Joe Rogan tank. I Sadius. Oh, Jesus.
So Kaladin makes his way to the Honor Chasm, and he starts stepping out over the edge to throw himself.
Oh damn.
Something I found interesting. On his way to the Honor Chasm, he mentions how it feels like the wind-driven rain is pushing him back away from it.
Oh.
Which, just knowing how much stuff happens with him in the wind and the wind spren later on, I find interesting.
Yeah, no, that is interesting, and I didn't mention.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it.
Yeah,
Before we
probably
go
'cause
into him
you're
stepping into the void, I have a little bit, which is him walking over. First of all, walking over to the chasms, he notices that the chasms aren't natural. It's like mentioned two or three times that the land is very unnatural.
Yep.
And then he also says, "You can't save men by killing others. We should have all become surgeons."
Mm-hmm.
And then 1 foot out over the void.
And if everyone's a surgeon, no one is.
No one
Are
is
we,
super.
I did have one more quote before
Yeah.
I think we get to what you're about to mention. Just another depressing one from Kaladin, mentioning that he understands so much more, but somehow feels no wiser. It's like, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
That's just like
Ow.
being a person.
Yeah, though. That's you ever met Dunning-Kruger?
Yeah, 1 foot out over the void.
You could really describe this whole series as watch as a man has the biggest case of imposter syndrome ever.
Yeah, hello, my career. Anyway.
Get your foot away from me.
Kaladin!
Say the word.
Kaladin!
So Syl, as Kaladin's stepping over the edge, comes back to Kaladin, and she's
Cutting
carrying.
close.
She's carrying. Yeah, she shows up just in time, and she's carrying a blackbane leaf, which is the leaf that Kaladin had, and he like kind of laughs at the irony of it, and she's like, "Well, it's the last thing that." After you lost the leaf, everything went bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it would make
Syl.
you happy. It's like, you literally brought me poison.
I love it. Oh, Syl.
It's the greatest joke ever because it makes him happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works. It works. So that still basically that her showing up convinces Kaladin to she talks him into like, well, he's like, I failed everyone that I've come into contact with, like they all die. I'm like poisoning people. Like I it's just everything goes wrong when I try to get involved. And she's like, well, these people are not, their situation literally can't get any worse, so you might as well try one more time.
Hey, you said it yourself. They're already dead. How could you hurt them?
Yeah.
But also, before,
Which it is kind of the perfect situation for Kaladin to like kind of get back to where he was. He's been put into a situation where he basically there isn't a negative to helping these people.
yeah, she hits him with some pretty solid logic.
Yeah.
I do want to mention the fact that when she's talking to him before talking to him, like convincing him, like, they're already dead. What's one more try? Is she mentions when she's talking to him, she's like, you made a difference in Amram's army. Like, that's what drew me to you. And she mentions being drawn to him because of the people's gratitude.
Yeah.
The gratitude that they held towards him for giving them a family in the army is what drew Syl to Kaladin.
It's almost like she's drawn to the honor.
Perhaps his honor.
Perhaps his honor.
Indeed.
All right. Where were we?
And then we just get some a lot of moments with Kaladin, and this is like the he said Brandon writes something. One more try. Another little paragraph. One more try. Another little paragraph. One more try. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So one other thing I wanted to note about this scene is I talked about it in episode 1 when it was like my least favorite scene we talked about, where Kaladin's like essentially whining to the woman who's purchasing the slaves. He's like, she's like, oh, well, where I'm from, slaves who have that brand are just executed. And he's like, they are fortunate. And I'm like, this isn't Kaladin. Like, it doesn't. And I realized here, it's because Syl becomes like his confidant, and she's the one that he vents to.
Yeah.
Throughout the rest of the series, he keeps it away from everyone else and only talks to Syl about these things for like the rest of the series. All of his internal dialogue, Syl becomes his like. I mean, she's basically his Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, okay, I've on that, I've been on a bit of a every single story is Pinocchio kick recently.
Whoa.
Do we think Way of Kings and Stormlight in general is a Pinocchio story?
No. I don't know. Maybe.
I think Kaladin is a Pinocchio story. I think Shallan is also a Pinocchio story. Shallan might be a little bit of a reverse Pinocchio. I'm not going to elaborate on that. Take from that what you will.
Reverse Pinocchio. That doesn't sound like something you should say aloud, to be honest.
That's my favorite position.
Stop. Stop it.
The reverse Pinocchio.
I don't think you're right. I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt. I don't think so.
When do they?
But right in the comments, is Way of Kings and Stormlight a
what
Pinocchio
is Pleasure
story?
Island?
Yeah. What is? When do they become furries?
That's a good point.
What
No
is
furry art.
It's when they go to what's it? Shadesmar. it's
No, I don't think bro's cooking.
all right. Well, you don't need a
Who's
Pleasure
trying
Island
to take
for
advantage of Kaladin because of this
Amaram,
boyish wonder.
and then kind of
Don't do that to Kaladin.
low key kind of Syl.
I can't agree with that.
No, come on now. Don't do that. Don't do that to Syl. She doesn't deserve.
Kaladin is trying to become a real soldier. That's his story.
Yeah, you are stretching to over there, out of the room. No.
It's Pinocchio, trust me.
Come back next week. With
Yeah.
All right,
Have an
five-page essay.
itemized list of
Next
exactly
week,
how.
PowerPoint of why Stormlight is
Yeah.
Pinocchio.
Okay.
I'll be here for it, in spirit.
Where were we?
We get Kaladin's reinvigorated. He comes back. Gaz calls him a pussy, and he leg sweeps Gaz, and then judo kicks him to the fucking ground.
Yes. Oh my god. I think I wrote down that Kaladin is finally establishing his place as the top in this relationship with Gaz. Just absolutely destroying him.
The world
He's like,
just-
you're gonna take my money and you're gonna like it.
This is for you.
This is a little cringy, but it's also on theme with Kaladin.
This book has some cringy dialogue.
It's
in it.
fine.
I will
The
say.
world just changed, Gaz. I died in that chasm.
I
Now you
wrote
have
that
my
down.
vengeful spirit to deal with.
No, that goes.
No,
that's
come
not
on.
cringy.
I wrote that down
I
because
said
I
it's
thought it was good.
Look, I wrote it down too. It's a little cringy, but
Yeah.
it goes hard.
I died
I
at that
like-
chasm. Is
Now
so
you
good.
have my vengeful
Yeah.
spirit to deal with.
The first of his
Bridge 4
reboots.
is mine.
The last thing I have written down about this chapter, I have a couple things about. There's a cool piece of art I want to talk about at the end of this chapter.
Okay.
In the Letterbound book, but the last thing I have written down in all caps is hell yeah, Teft is here.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I wrote Teft my beloved hard eyes emoji.
You wrote hard eyes emoji?
No, I put it down on my phone. I have emoji on my phone.
Can't believe you don't write down your notes with pen
I
and
might
paper.
do that next time just because it will make me laugh when I read the notes again.
Well, I don't know. What makes you think you're coming back on here? You think you did a good job?
We don't want you.
Just edit me out.
Right, the end of this episode is going to be your.
We're just gonna kill you.
We're
Just
gonna
gonna
do
kill
like-
me and steal my car.
No,
That
we're
was
gonna
the whole
do.
plan.
We're gonna do a episode review for you. Like we're gonna do
Oh,
like
yeah.
we're your manager at work, and we're gonna give you a rubric to grade yourself on,
Right,
and you're
right.
gonna underestimate all of your grades, and we're gonna be
Yes.
like, yeah, so that means we don't have to pay you more because we're not paying you anyway. So.
I mean, yeah. Why would you? I'm a dark eyes.
Yeah, that's true.
Sam, what color are you? Brown?
Brown. Yeah.
Damn, I'm above you guys. I'm better than you.
Of course, fucking light eyes, man.
I like the back and forth between Kaladin and Teft. The what's your name? What's your name?
Oh,
Storm off. And he's like, look, I could sit here and bother you all day, and if you keep not giving it to me, I'll drag you out into the fucking storm until you
Yeah.
Dangle you over the
chasm until you tell me your name. And Teft's like, hey, it's Teft. And he's like,
Yeah.
awesome. That wasn't so hard, was it? I'm Kaladin, and then shakes his hand.
And then Kaladin goes around to the rest of the barracks and pries
And then-
everyone's name out of them.
Yeah.
Fucking
Do you have this written?
get
down?
some rest. Tomorrow's
Yeah,
gonna be a
you
hard day. What makes you say that? Because we're bridgemen. Every day's hard.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
Teft laughs a little bit.
Yeah. They're hard every day. 24/7.
Yeah, fucking the bridgemen are all given a lifetime supply of Blue Chew the second they join the army. It intimidates the Parshendi.
Anyone else have anything at the end of this chapter they wanted to add?
No, I'm
No,
out of notes.
that's it.
Yeah, it's just
all
it's
she
such a
wrote.
big turning point for Kaladin. But one thing I want
Yeah.
to say, the art at the end of this chapter, and we
Feature
should
Jack,
definitely
throw the art
put-
up on the screen.
We have to put this up on the screen because look at this. It's a picture of Kaladin,
1 foot over the cliff.
1 foot over the cliff, and Syl is a streak of light like speeding towards him.
That's so good.
And I hadn't. I mean, this is my first time reading the paper book. I'd been doing the audiobooks before, and I got chills when I saw that. I was like,
that is really
amazing.
good.
So,
Man, I don't have $200 to drop on that fucking book. Damn.
The thing is, though, you're the most financially
No,
stable
I just
member
bought
of this
a
group.
car. We can't keep using that excuse.
I literally don't have any money.
Okay, that doesn't mean I have a lot of money. Relative to someone with no money, yes. Relative to everything else and everyone else, no. Including myself 3 days ago. Don't buy a car. That's my
we
parting
don't really have a
words.
choice.
That's my parting words. Don't buy cars.
I'm in no position to be buying a car. I have no money.
That's
Don't
true.
worry,
That's
I won't
true.
be.
That's good. Stay true.
So, Sammy,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take your position. I'm taking
Shit.
your job. What was your favorite part? What was your least favorite part? What could you have gone without? What did you whack off to?
So I think my I'll do favorite. I think I usually do least favorite part first. My favorite part of what we read today was, I mean, you said it was cringy, but when Cal goes, "I died in that chasm." Now you just have my vengeful spirit to deal with. I mean, because that sums up like the entirety of what drives Cal going forward, and it's like the biggest turning point for him in the entire series. Like, I mean, he definitely gets there's points where he gets to being low again, but it's never this low ever again. And this is when he decides that he's going to try one more time. Like
I
Sil
don't.
said.
Cringy might have been the wrong word.
It's
I
tropey.
wrote it down.
It's tropey.
It's
feel
quite
like.
edgy as well.
It's edgy, yeah,
Yeah.
but I wrote it down. I still loved it. I still appreciated it. I still think Kaladin needs to say it.
He's just a ledge boy.
It's just he's just a little bit of an edge boy.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of edge to him. A little
And then
sharp.
least favorite?
Oh, least favorite is hard. This is a
Yeah.
really solid 4 chapters. I think maybe the exposition dump in chapter 10, just by nature of it being an exposition dump.
But it's good exposition.
It's a
though.
good one, but if I had to choose something that was my
Yeah.
least favorite, it might be that.
I didn't say what part did you not like. I
Yeah.
just said least
Yeah.
favorite. Shane Gillis has like there's the funniest of everything. Okay. Mike.
It's really funny. I thought somehow parts of Shallan's would be my least favorite, because when I was trying to get into this initially, I think I started the audiobook like 2 or 3 times, and I got to Shallan in Kharbranth, and I was like, wow, I don't like this, and I turned it off. But Yalb and Shallan were my favorite part.
Oh, yeah, that's a
I
good one.
love them. Oh my
Yeah.
god, just adorable, incredible.
What book did you say there was more of Yalbin?
Don Shard.
Don Shard.
All right.
3.5.
You're so right. I can't believe I forgot that.
Go read that.
Least favorite would probably be the same, the exposition dump, but like it's still good. For the same reason. I was like, eh.
It's really hard to choose. I mean, the other 2 episodes, I feel like we both kind of had a least favorite. We're like, yeah, this part's like my least favorite, but this one's really hard to choose.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't even think about, because usually when I'm reading through, I'll be like, okay, I have to like pick something out from my favorite, my least favorite, and I like forgot to pick out a least favorite in this one because I was just so invested. I was like, right, but this is what I've been, since we started rereading, I've loved it, but this is when I was like, yeah, I remember why I fell in love with this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, big time.
So I'm glad that we had Mike on this episode as our first guest.
First and last guest, first and last appearance. I'm done after this. That's it.
We're killing you.
They're killing me. They're stealing my car.
Yeah, you get that brand new car out there. We need.
I
that.
know. Yeah.
So you don't want to know what my favorite was?
No.
Oh, okay.
All right, Jack. What's your favorite?
No,
part?
that was the episode, guys. How can I do-
Favorite, least favorite.
My favorite part is definitely Yasna going, so you really are still here, huh? When she comes back. Or I'm never going to be rid of you, am I? That part. I love Yasna, and I love every word that comes out of her mouth.
Yeah.
Least favorite. I gotta not pick the
Is Yasna
exposition.
your favorite
dumb.
character?
No, I think Wit's my favorite character, which is kind of.
Oh,
I
that's such
know.
a cop out.
I know, but like,
Or
how
if
do
you can't
not
pick
love
Wit.
Like, it's also
okay, if I
Wit.
can't pick Wit, I'd probably pick Lift. Lift is goated, and then Yasna.
Oh,
Weird
interesting choice.
Lift is
No,
so
Lift
funny.
is kind of goated.
Lift is the only character in
Maybe
this
because I
book.
haven't read Edge Dancer, but
Yeah.
Lift is the only character in this series where the writing changes substantially when she takes over perspective.
Yeah.
Like the
It's kinda
fucking, and
nice.
then she flared her awesomeness. I just love that. I just love the personification of how she sees it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is cool.
I don't have a least favorite part. I'm gonna cop out with this was a great fucking
It's true, though.
bundle of chapters. It was all needed. I'm not even gonna say exposition is my cop out answer because I really like
It was
the
a really good-
exposition.
That's true.
In
Honestly,
fact, if I had to pick a least favorite, I would say the chapter 9 with Kaladin. The
Just 'cause not
short.
much- yeah, it's
It's just.
yeah.
depression.
I mean, it's still good because it's a lot of the hints of what's wrong with the war, but Kaladin isn't interested in asking the questions.
And I think it's the series of chapters 9, 10, and 11 of going from like Kaladin becoming even like it's so dire.
Rock
like
bottom.
He's the only one left in from the original Bridge 4 that he had joined, and then going into the flashback of him as a kid, and then going back like it sets it up so well that even chapter 9 I'm like it's quick and it's like more Kaladin depression.
Yeah.
But the way it flows from 9 to the flashback in 10 to 11 where he goes to the Utter Chasm is just so perfect.
So I want to say this, but I'm tentative to actually have my opinion be this way, because like
Opinions are fluid.
this
They can
book was
change.
hard to get into. Mike said it himself.
Yeah.
He started a couple times.
I know every time I recommend this series to someone, I have to be like, look, you're gonna not be hooked right away.
Yeah.
You have to make it like 400 pages before it really kicks in.
that's hard
which
to
is
say.
usually. But you know, I've never recommended this book to someone and had them drop it. Like
Had them like finish it and dislike it, or
and then
Yeah.
no, I think everyone I've recommended this book to and like has picked it up has finished the series.
But here's what I want to say is struggling to get into this book, and then with how epic 9, 10, and 11 is, going to interludes right after that hurts.
Yeah, and the interludes are again just random characters and random
Especially
places.
in this book, how out of context they are. You're like you're really getting into the Kaladin drive. You're like, oh, Kaladin.
Yes.
As you hit this chapter, and then it hits interludes, and you like almost lose all the steam that you've been building up to get into it so far. And as someone who already likes this, it's perfect because like it's like the end of an episode, and then you go to like the cold open of the next episode that's not related at all or something. But like as a book and as someone trying to get into the book, it's like take me back to Kaladin.
It's pretty disorienting for sure, which is why like Jenna skipped the interlude.
Yeah, it's just the world building's phenomenal in these books, but on first read of the first book, it is very overwhelming. Like the minute I hit Kharbranth, my neurons were like, I don't know.
It's
I
almost
can't
like the more
follow.
that we talk about it, the more I understand why he never says start with Stormlight
Yes.
in all of his where do I start reading
That's
my
the
books.
last recommendation always is, and you
He's
could
always
start
like, oh,
with
you
Stormlight.
could start with Stormlight.
And I think we all did, and it worked.
But
It's
this
true.
is probably why
It's
we
true.
have these like, damn, it took a second for us because
Right.
like,
Yes.
Because Jenna had actually read Mistborn.
really?
Before, yeah, she
Wait, Jen's read Mistborn?
Yeah, I don't know.
can
If,
talk
it was
to
like years ago.
Oh,
yeah.
damn it.
But yeah, you can probably talk to her about it. But so she kind of knew what she was getting into because she'd read some Brandon Sanderson before.
But even so, like I just read the first book of Mistborn. I haven't read 2 or 3 yet. But Mistborn is like every chapter ends and picks up right where the chapter left off.
Breakneck pace.
Like it's literally just go, go, go.
Yeah,
You don't
breakneck
get
pace.
The 2 characters it mainly follows are almost always together and doing the same things. So you're never like jumping from like Kaladin to Shallan, where it's like a different plot line. It's like you're following the second character, but they're both going down the same plot line.
I really like it in Mistborn too, because it's just such a contrast. When you hit a different perspective in Mistborn, you're like, oh my god, what's happening? Something's
when
happening.
you get a random character in Mistborn, you're like,
something
what
good or
the
bad
hell?
is about to happen. I am nervous.
In this series, it's rarer to have 2 back-to-back chapters be about the same character.
Yes. Oh yeah.
It's less. Yeah, it's usually you get a character switch between chapters, and like very rarely, like this might be the first time in the book we get 3 chapters in a row of Kaladin.
I would say that the books really only do that thing where they start following like a really, really like minute by minute plot of following the same.
And this one
kind of
isn't
what's
even
going
that
on.
because we get a flashback.
Yeah.
It's not. I would say like that happens in like the Act 3 peak.
Yeah.
As we're getting to that, like the I can't remember the word in literature, but like
The climax.
Rising action.
I think the rising action.
Well, the rising action's like, I don't know.
Not
Maybe
Act
it is just.
I don't know books,
climax.
dude.
But it is like it
I
is
do
like you have to
computer.
get to the Act 3 climax for it to like follow itself.
That's gonna sound good on audio.
I bet it will.
You're welcome. An extra too. Bonus for you.
Bonus snatch for the boys.
Oh man. Yeah, good book.
I got nothing else.
Yeah, that's all she wrote for me.
I guess so. Well, we asked Jack favorite character,
Oh.
and since we have a guest on, Mike, favorite character on the spot right now.
This is changing at the moment. It might it might be Thydakar. I don't know. And you're gonna look at me strange for that, but it could be.
Which one's Thydakar?
Thydakar the leader of the Ghost Bloods.
Yeah.
Murray's
That's because you're reading Mistborn.
Yeah, listen.
That's
listen,
not fair.
Listen, I was thinking about this earlier. I mean, Adolin, I just want to marry is the issue, but probably
damn.
probably Dalinar.
Yeah, Adolin would be in like my top 3 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's marry and fuck for sure. Kill Sadeas.
Lift Adolin Yasna. Excluding Hoyd.
Wait, where?
Lift
Oh, okay.
Adolin.
I thought you were doing. I thought you were doing the other the thing I was just talking about with Lift. I was like,
No. No. Not fuck Mary killing Lift.
cut the track. Cut the track. No,
Do we
probably
edit that out?
probably Dalinar. I just
Dalinar.
the more I
your
thought
favorite?
about it, like I just love his whole arc.
So
think
let's just do top 3. Let's just. It's
Okay.
so hard to pick.
Top 3, yeah, sure. Dalinar,
Adolin.
Pattern, probably.
Adolin is just a shoo-in, yeah.
Mike's a good pattern hog.
I was just about to say Pattern. Probably Pattern. I love Pattern. I love the way he talks. I love the way Michael Kramer makes him talk.
All right,
What?
so-
Kate Reading makes pattern talk.
Oh, and Kate Reading. Yeah. Reading?
Reading.
Is she reading?
I think it's
She
Reading.
Is
is
she
reading,
reading
do be
or is she
though.
reading?
He's reading.
Or is she gonna be on my fucking time? Yeah, probably
reading
those
or were you
3. Were you reading or were you reading? Probably those 3. It's. I mean, you guys know it's so hard to pick because
So
they're all
Dalinar,
so
Adolin,
Pattern.
Pattern. All
How
right.
about you?
Well, you have. Let's see, because you had
Lift.
Lift.
Yasna, or Lift.
Well,
Adolin,
you can use.
Yasna.
You can do wit. You can do wit in your top 3.
No, I like my 3. I feel
Well,
like
so
Wit
it's
is way too
Adolin,
unanimous
Yasna,
as
and
like
Lift,
a yeah.
you said? I think my top 3. Navani is my.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know.
Navani's
I
my
was just
number one.
thinking about Navani and what's her name from book
Rabonio?
and Rabonio. Rabonio's
Oh,
a
yeah.
sick character.
Rabonio is so cool. I want to know. I really want to know.
She's the one. Her sister's the one who like goes crazy, right?
No, that's Eshonai and
Eshonai is the one who goes crazy though. Rabonio. Oh no, Rabonio's the one in.
the Lady of Wishes.
Yeah.
Who
Yes.
kind of mind fights Navani all of book 4.
She has a
She's
daughter.
in the tower when the.
What's
the unmade
what's
is-
Eshonai's sister's name?
It's Eshonai and
Venli.
Venli.
Yeah.
Rabonio. So Rabonio's one of the Parshundi, right?
She's a fuse.
She's a
fused,
fuse.
yeah.
She's
Yeah.
a very
So one of the
important
things
fuse.
I want
That's
to
when
know.
the whole the unmade thing in Eurythera is happening, right?
No.
No?
Wait,
Well-
do you mean in book 2?
No.
No. I'm
No.
sorry. In book 3, when they go into the basement and they find the thing.
Yeah, they found the unmade.
No.
in
That's
There's
in
an
book
unmade
3.
in Eurythera, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's in 3.
Isn't the Unmade like disabling the defenses of Urithiru, and that's how the Fused are able to get in?
No.
That's
Raboniel is how they get in book 4.
Okay.
yeah.
That
Raboniel does
Unmade, I
something.
think that Unmade is affecting the tower, but it's
Yeah.
unrelated to how they get in
Okay,
and how they
okay.
shut off all the radiance.
Yeah, because they find the pillar. That Unmade is around the pillar that Raboniel ends up is like the center of her takeover of Urithiru. Is like taking the pillar.
And then it crawls away at a woman's touch. Ah, God. The
Me too,
Unmade
man.
runs and cries and pisses
Me too.
away.
But I think
Yeah, anyway.
so. Navani, number 1. Number 2 is really hard to pick. Oh God! All right, this is hard. I don't know. It's Kaladin is just. I'm gonna be boring and choose Kaladin because Kaladin like it. It's such a good story, especially in this book. Like I think it might just because I'm reading it now. And then 3 is probably Dalinar, just because.
I mean,
this is what I wanted to say. I said this to Mike a couple days ago. I saw someone's review on Instagram of Way of Kings. They gave the book like a 9.5 out of 10, but when they were talking about cons, one of the cons was too much Dalinar. And I was like,
Whoa.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I remember talking about that. Yikes, what an L take. No, Kaladin's fair. I really, really love how Brandon ends up handling Kaladin's mental health crisis.
We've talked about that before.
It feels so real. It's like uncomfortable at points, especially in the later books.
Yeah.
I might have to switch out one of my characters with design. Design
Really?
is goated.
We've gotten so little
Wits,
design,
cryptic.
Oh.
I need more design before design comes anywhere near pattern. I'm not gonna lie.
It's fair. Have we talked about how design was originally bonding Alucard?
No.
Yeah, isn't
So
that crazy?
design, like Alucard mentions this before he gets killed. He mentions the like seeing cryptic.
Huge spoilers.
Well, I mean,
I know.
we already
Hey,
told you about the fucking.
This is a spoiler podcast. A reread podcast.
so
Thanks, Mike.
I'm
just gonna we're gonna put that at the start of our episodes now.
Before Alucard gets killed, he has a panic attack because he's seeing Shadesmar cryptics. Like Shallan was in book 1.
Oh my god! How do I not remember that?
He begins to say the words right before Moash kills him.
Yep.
Wit bonds the cryptic at the end of book 3 in his epilogue where Alucard died.
Yeah.
That was Alucard's cryptic.
That's
that he was bonding.
crazy. I totally don't remember Alucard mentioning he's seeing cryptids.
Yeah, cryptids.
Cryptids.
He's seeing fucking
Cryptic-
Wendigos
and
just
cryptics
crawling
and
around the palace. I'd be freaking out
There's a
too.
chupacabra in the palace.
I would be bugging. That would not be good.
There's a djinn in the palace.
now that we're talking about it, I mean, Alucard is a shithead in this book, but
Also,
he's such a good character.
He's
later on.
really compelling
Yeah.
later on. Yeah.
God.
everything that happens with him and Dalinar and Urithiru, so good.
Yeah.
It's just, you mentioned this before, but like the way Brandon Sanderson goes to set up something for me to be like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't even want to sit through how this is going to play out. And then I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God.
The way that you can,
That's
the way
perfect.
that you can see the bubbling up of power tension between Dalinar and Alucard, and then the way that it just doesn't happen.
Yes.
Like, that is what I'm talking about. Is the like subversion of expectation.
Yeah, he's like, ooh, here's a trope. Guess what? We're not doing it. What do you think
Get
this
that
is?
fucking shit out of my
This
face.
is the Stormlight Archives, guys. Get with it. Come on.
All right. Anyone have any parting words that they want to talk about before we sign off?
Yeah, don't badmouth my boy Thydakar. I think that's about it.
We love him. We love him.
He's not even called
do love him.
Thydakar in this series, is it?
No, he is.
In this
That's
one?
the only way he's referred to
This
in
is-
Stormlight.
Yeah, he's.
Oh, he
actually
gets
only
called something else in Mistborn.
Thydakar. He's Kelsier. in Mistborn.
Kelsier.
Yes. Supposedly. Probably.
Isn't
Definitely.
and then Kelsier's like the main character in Mistborn, right?
He's
Kelsier
one
and
of them.
Vin.
I mean, it's kind of Mistborn's kind of like Stormlight, where there are main characters more than a main character.
I do want to read Mistborn.
Kelsier's the
good.
one that you're like, oh, that's my boy though.
Oh yeah, I mean, Day one. Kelsier's a day one.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
That
just
book
the best.
starts with the pedal on the fucking floor.
Ugh,
What do we have
God.
for time? I'm just interested. This one went long.
144.
Hell yeah.
Quick Mistborn ad. Oh my god, Mistborn's good. If you're gonna start anywhere, I think I'd recommend
Start with
Mistborn
Warbreaker.
at this point. Or Warbreaker. Warbreaker's
Okay, so
I'll save the Warbreaker.
Wait,
talk.
let's actually.
No Warbreaker talk. We gotta
Yeah,
save
we
the-
gotta
No,
save
no,
that.
no, I know. I genuinely think Elantris, Emperor Soul, Warbreaker, the entirety of Mistborn, then the entirety of Stormlight is the correct reading order. Even though Stormlight is my favorite, with Warbreaker being a very close second, and I'm not far enough in Mistborn for it to take up right now.
Warbreaker was good, but I did not fall in love with it the same way I did this series.
Really?
I fell in love with
I
Warbreaker.
was like, this was a very good book, but I wasn't like,
I was like
I need
enamored.
more and more of this. I was like, because this series, I'm like, more, and
Yeah.
it makes me so happy that there's another 6 books allegedly coming up for this series.
Insanity.
I
I
mean-
don't know the last time I like watched or read something and I was like, I literally never want this to stop releasing
Yeah.
stuff. Because usually it's like, all right, wrap it up somewhere, but this, it's like, just keep going.
At me with the Sopranos right now. I'm coming close.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run out soon.
Oh,
I'm so sad.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Jack?
I
Yeah,
interrupted you. What were you saying?
I don't
The
remember.
correct order to read things.
Oh, I finished that thought.
Okay.
I feel like that was.
I feel like Elantris could be hard to get
start
into
with.
as the first one because it's Brandon's first. I think Mistborn's more accessible. I'm not gonna lie. Just the way
You
things
know,
are named and
that's
introduced
fair.
to you.
Mistborn?
Just the first book.
Okay. I just did this. I'm doing the soul point.
Yeah, you're gonna do the.
You doing the what point?
Don't worry,
worry about it.
you're uneducated. You're an uneducated
Uncultured.
heathen.
Warhammer?
No.
No. You
It
wish.
should be.
It's Sopranos.
the
Oh,
same
it's
thing.
Sopranos. It's
Yeah.
Sopranos.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. That's the poly point, really. Well, they both do it.
Yeah.
Poly and syllable.
Hey. Your mother.
Anyway.
I think the episode's gone on for about as long as it should.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Mike, for joining us.
Thank you, Mike.
And we're mostly joking about killing you and stealing your car.
Mostly.
You know,
We haven't really decided yet.
I
but...
would if both of those, if even one of those things happen, I won't have to go to work tomorrow. Just saying, just putting that out there.
But so if we don't do those things, you are welcome to come back on for another episode. It's been great. I mean, this.
And
flew
if you
by.
never see Mike again,
you
know
what
you
happens.
Mhm. Don't tell my
I mean,
boss.
yeah, no, you didn't.
Don't tell my boss. I don't want to go back.
So, like we said at the beginning, our plan for next episode is a big Warbreaker bonus episode where we're just gonna rant about Warbreaker for an hour or two.
Yeah.
I can't
Probably
wait.
maybe 3. I
I
don't
can't
even
wait.
know. That
I
might-
can't wait. I can't wait.
I don't know how we're gonna do the logistics of recording that one because we've got like 5 people that we want on for that.
yeah.
We might do that one remote. Maybe we'll all get online. We'll do a.
I also want to put a quick disclaimer at the end here is that we're morons.
yeah. Okay.
And that we're learning how to podcast as we podcast.
Yeah.
So the audio and the video will be changing, hopefully for the better,
Yeah.
every episode as we kind of figure out what works and what doesn't work.
We're aiming for just above unlistenable level right now, and we're hoping we get to listenable at some point. We're trying out a new thing now where we're recording all onto one computer because we were doing a really janky thing before. We would record onto 2 separate computers because we couldn't figure out how to get it to record onto one computer.
Oh, computers.
Yeah, so bear with us as the setup changes every episode
Yeah.
for the first little while.
Hopefully, it only improves.
Yeah, that's why I said hopefully just for the better.
Yeah, that'd be good.
The audio,
Maybe it gets worse. We never know.
Imagine.
So yeah, next up, Warbreaker bonus episode, hopefully,
and then the interludes.
and then the interludes.
Mm.
Yeah. I feel like this is a good spot to take a break and do Warbreaker, and then
Yeah.
get back into ease back in with the interludes.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do interludes first. We don't really know yet. It's gonna depend on a few factors. but-
Loosey goosey with it.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Stay happy, stay healthy.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye bye.